It appears to finally be over. Declan Rice to Arsenal seems a done deal. Liverpool are in pursuit of RB Leipzig playmaker. Could that happen before a release clause deadline of Friday? James Maddison, done deal to Tottenham. That was done, dusted, and made official yesterday, as was Kai Havertz to Arsenal and Mickey van der Veen. We've talked about him before. Could he be on his way to Tottenham Hotspur this summer? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Another all new news videos in store for you today. Another all new news live stream in which we talk about some of the biggest headlines that are circulating in the world of football right now. Like I say, we're going to be talking about Declan Rice. We're going to be talking about the Kai Havertz deal a little bit more, the James Maddison deal a little bit more, Liverpool's pursuit of Dominik. Let me see if I can get this name right, because Jesus Christ, it is a very difficult name to pronounce. Szoboszlai. I want to go with Szoboszlai. They're probably laughing at me right now and thinking you're an idiot. And yes, you are right. I am 100% an idiot. But guess what? I'm going to run with Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai. Jesus Christ, this is terrible. But anyway, we're going to go with Szoboszlai. I apologize if I've completely butchered that name, by the way. Szoboszlai. And we're going to be talking about Mickey van der Veen of Wolfsburg attracting the interest of Tottenham Hotspur, who appear to have entered talks and negotiations with the player over personal terms. But before we go any further and talk about all these stories and any more that you may have or any more that may break during the live stream, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and probably greatly appreciated. And also for you to get involved in the chat, in the comments as well. That will all make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure, because I'm sure you have your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, that I'm sure will be brilliant to view and obviously great to watch and everything. So do get involved in the chat. Do get involved with the likes and subscribes. Everything will be greatly appreciated from there. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's get on with the live stream. First of all, we're going to be talking about Declan Rice. Now, this situation is something that we've talked about time and time again over the course of the early stages of the transfer window, and it appears to be reaching its conclusion. Finally reaching its conclusion. Yesterday, of course, there was the breaking news yesterday morning that Manchester City were pulling out of the race for Declan Rice. It seemed to leave the pathway completely clear for Arsenal to take the deal by the scruff of the neck. It was in the palm of Arsenal's hands, and they seem to have finally closed out this deal. David Ornstein took to Twitter last night to confirm Arsenal have agreed a fee with West Ham to sign Declan Rice. Arsenal made 100 million plus 5 million in add-ons offer for the 24-year-old English midfielder last night, and that has been accepted. Record for British player. Clubs now working to resolve payment terms. So it's basically just tying up all the loose ends. There'll then, of course, be the medical situation, and then after the medical situation, they'll be pending an official announcement. Massive deal for Arsenal to get done here. We knew it was going to be pretty much happening. We knew it was going to be happening more so when obviously Manchester City dropped out of the race. But after weeks and months of negotiations, it seems Arsenal have finally landed their top target. And, you know, it finally seems we're coming to an end to this saga. It finally seems that everything is finally falling in place for Arsenal, and they have landed their top target, which is brilliant for them. Like it's a quality signing. It's a signing of intent. It's a excuse me. It's a real statement signing as far as what Arsenal are concerned. Lays down a marker to the Premier League that they are here to stay and to not mess around anymore. They're here to stay within that title picture, that title hunt. They're there to compete with the likes of Manchester City. It's a real statement, not just because of the fee, not just because it's obviously record breaking in terms of an English player, in terms of their own club history and all of that stuff. But it's a real statement of intent that they're starting to look more and more at the bigger picture, at the sort of ways of trying to compete for bigger and better trophies. It's a brilliant signing, and of course, with all the worry that maybe Manchester City were going to be involved, with all the worry that they were going to take Declan Rice out of their hands, off their grasp, whatever the case may be, and with all the worry that they weren't going to land this target and they were going to miss out on other targets as well, the likes of Moises Caicedo that they were heavily linked with, obviously seemingly now going to Chelsea. And maybe a couple of other targets, and obviously only signing Kai Havertz, which we'll get onto a little later. It did seem a little bit of worrying times for Arsenal, but no, this is a fantastic player. Is he worth 100 million? Of course not. There is the English tax that's been thrown onto this. Obviously, the homegrown quota of squad registration that always adds to any kind of transfer fee for an English player. So the homegrown tax, obviously, is added on to this fee. He's not worth 100 million in my opinion, and I think a lot of people will agree. Don't get me wrong, he's a fantastic and quality player, someone who fits seamlessly and perfectly within Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's system. A fantastic player all round. He brings with him a good energy, both in terms of positivity and, of course, obviously good energy in terms of on the pitch, in terms of he's a good engine to have in there, come up and down that pitch for 90 minutes. Is a player that wins the ball back very well. Not the most creative, but let's face it, he doesn't need to be. He just needs to do the industrious donkey work, if you like, and then move the ball on when he retrieves it to the more creative outlets of that, or the more influential and flair-like outlets of that Arsenal squad, in terms of your Bukayo Sakas, your Gabriel Martinellis, and of course your Martin Odegaards. He doesn't need to be that creative influence. He just needs to stay in the middle of that pitch, cut out the ball wherever possible, cover as much ground as possible, high intense, high press. And if he can pop up with the odd goal or two here and there, which he has done time and time again at West Ham, of course, then obviously that would be great. He's a good aerial presence to have as well, good at defending, and obviously good in the attacking box as well to an extent. And if they can work on that side of his game as well, they'll have an even more complete and all-round player. But this is a guy that just fits seamlessly into this Arsenal team. And I think it's an incredible signing by Mikel Arteta. I think it's an incredible signing by Arsenal. A real statement of intent, like I say, and a statement that says, we weren't here for just one season. We're here to compete for the long term. And I think that this guy brings so much with him. And I think he's the perfect fit for Arsenal. I think it's a very, very smart move by the Gunners. One that from afar and from the outside looking in, I really like. And it's not just in terms of what he brings, in terms of obviously his playing ability, but it's also his leadership as well. He's 24 years of age. He's already led West Ham to a Europa Conference League triumph there. He is a leader, and he's only going to mature and get better. And with more experience, of course, he's only going to get better as a player and as a man as well, and as a leader. So there is a lot to look at with this deal, and a lot that says that 105 million, whether you think he's worth it or not, I personally don't think it will be. But let's face it, we judge transfers now on potential, expectation, as well as maybe money back value. For 100 million, it could genuinely be worth it in the long run. If obviously Arsenal are to go on and win trophies, he is to become a better player. He may be sold in about 5 or 6 years' time for big money, maybe, if obviously things do or do not work out, depending. Or he could just see out the rest of his career at Arsenal. It's really up and about and up in the air for Declan Rice in terms of obviously his long-term future. But for his immediate future, it looks very promising. And he's only going to grow and get better as a player. Not just because he's going to be playing around better players. You could maybe argue it might be a better manager as well, depending on how the progression of Mikel Arteta goes over time. But he'll also be playing on a bigger and better stage in terms of the Champions League, with all due respect to West Ham, of course. So he's only going to get better as a player. He's only going to improve. And for the here and now, as well as the future, he is definitely a perfect fit for this Arsenal side and a fantastic addition to this Arsenal squad in general. I, for one, if I'm to be neutral on this, I'm very happy for Arsenal in certain ways, and in other ways, I'm a little bit jealous that they've actually shown this amount of ambition and push the boat out to obviously get this Declan Rice deal done. And it just shows you that when you're on the upwards trajectory, when you're on the up, when you're there or thereabouts, you need to continue to push your finger out a bit more to obviously get what you want. There can be no excuses now for Arsenal, in my opinion, in terms of ownership and spending money. No excuses in that area. But I am curious to hear from Arsenal fans, not just on this transfer in general, but on what the expectations are for this season going forward. Declan Rice is pretty much signed. Kai Havertz is definitely signed. He signed yesterday. And again, like I said, we'll talk about him a little bit later on. Jurrien Timber is advancing and is advancing well. That seems to be a quality signing. There seems to be one or two that may be also coming through the door at Arsenal. There's still the Lavia links. There's still a couple of other links maybe. There's still maybe one or two areas that need addressing. Maybe the right wing position to give Bukayo Saka some competition might need some addressing. Does the striker area need addressing from Arsenal? I'm interested to know what business is left of Arsenal, and whether you do it or not, what is the expectation for this season? Obviously, you led for so long this season in the Premier League and fell away at the final hurdle. Manchester City eventually took advantage of that and, of course, won the Premier League title. What is the expectation for Arsenal this season? Is it a trophy? I think is definitely the case. But would you be happy with top four in a Carabao Cup? Somehow I don't think that would be enough. A Carabao Cup, an FA Cup and top four maybe might be enough to show progression for this season. Obviously, going far in the Champions League would be a no-brainer. Winning the Premier League obviously would be a no-brainer. But what is the expectation? What's the minimum expectation, I guess I'm trying to say, for Arsenal? I'd love to know from Arsenal fans on this what that minimum expectation is and what we can expect or what you expect from the club, from Mikel Arteta's side going forward this season, depending on your transfer business, of course. Declan Rice seems to be done. Kai Havertz is definitely done. Jurrien Timber is advancing very well, and there are a couple of other players that are being linked by the day with the Gunners, and of course, they are on the lookout for more players. Does that right wing area need addressing? Do you need another midfielder? And do you maybe need to shore up that attacking line in terms of a new striker, maybe? I'd love to know what Gunners think. I'd love to know what the overall consensus is from Gunner fans, and maybe even rival and neutral fans at that, as to what they expect. Personally, for me, like I say, Carabao Cup isn't good enough, regardless of whether they get top four or not. They need to have more than that in the bank, I think. I think a domestic double in terms of the League Cup and FA Cup would be the bare minimum. But you could just go for just an FA Cup and the top four to show a bit more progression and to go again. And obviously a title challenge and maybe going far in the Champions League. I'm just curious to know, because I just think it will be interesting to gauge the opinion of Arsenal fans in terms of what they expect from next season, having obviously overachieved last season to an extent, but at the same time still weirdly underachieved given the context of the season and how far you came, and obviously how you led the Premier League title race for so long, but to ultimately fall away at the final hurdle. I'm very intrigued to know what Arsenal fans think and feel on this particular subject. But yes, that one is seemingly done. Jurrien Timber, like I say, is seemingly advancing very well for Arsenal. It seems that they are edging ever closer to maybe agreeing a fee for him. But one deal that definitely is done as far as the Gunners are concerned is that of Kai Havertz. He officially signed yesterday. Again, this is another deal that we have talked about a fair amount during these live streams over the past few weeks or so. Kai Havertz to Arsenal, done deal, done and dusted. Something in the region like 60 to 65 million, I believe it was. It is all good as far as Arsenal are concerned. They've snapped up their other target in Kai Havertz. Again, I'm on the fence about this one because I'll reiterate what I said previously. I'm on the fence about this one because I genuinely think that, yeah, okay, there might be a good player in there. If he can help, if Mikel Arteta can help rediscover Kai Havertz's form from Bayer Leverkusen, maybe there is a player in there. Maybe there's a different position for him. Maybe it is as being a number 10 or as a central midfielder for Kai Havertz to go forward with. Maybe that's his position. Having a striker to work off in Gabriel Jesus, having Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka to work off may help him and enhance him. Maybe that's the case. But he's very inconsistent and he's very seemingly awkward about things. He's got okay technical ability. His passing's okay. These are still things that are rough around the edges that maybe with a bit of fine-tuning, maybe with the right players, maybe with a bit of confidence behind him, maybe with the right manager and the right system and everything, and a bit of reliability, sustainability and structure to obviously his game and to the club that he's playing for. Maybe, just maybe, there is a player there in Kai Havertz that can blossom at Arsenal. I just personally don't see it necessarily. I see the potential. I definitely see the potential. I don't see it really working out. And I don't really understand, as of right now, why Arsenal have truly signed him. And they were the only ones to really pay the transfer fee that Chelsea set before them. So we know that there is a player in there. We can kind of gauge that from the opinions of Real Madrid and Manchester City in terms of Carlo Ancelotti and Pep Guardiola, because them two were very much interested in taking Kai Havertz until they heard the price tag. So we know there is some sort of player in there with Kai Havertz, but it's whether or not he's worth the money. Now, in my personal opinion, he's not worth the 60 to 65 million that Arsenal decided to splash out on him. In comparison to, of course, Arsenal's London rivals of Tottenham, they also completed a deal yesterday for James Maddison in the region of 40 million plus add-ons. Now, there is the case of Harry Winks going the other way in terms of going from Tottenham to Leicester, but that seems to be a separate deal altogether. So if you are to maybe add it to that deal, then maybe it's even less than 40 million, or maybe it's about 40 million, depending on how much the add-ons are. But for me, the James Maddison move is a quality move. It is a better move, in my opinion, than Kai Havertz right now, because I'm judging it based off reliability. I'm judging it based off of Premier League history, Premier League proven, all of that stuff. This is a guy that for Leicester over the years has contributed to around about 15 to 20, give or take, Premier League goal contributions. This is a guy who, in a declining Leicester squad, continues to be head and shoulders above the rest, continues to try and drag them forward, but ultimately couldn't do it on his own for the past year or so. Maddison is an incredible signing for Tottenham, and for the money that they got for him, I think it's an absolute bargain. The chances he creates, he's constantly top 10 in the Premier League, I think, in terms of chances created. Imagine having him behind the likes of Harry Kane, if he stays, of course, and with Son Heung-min on the left, if he can rediscover his form, and with Dejan Kulusevski, if he can obviously rediscover his forms from when he first signed with the club as a main creative force in that midfield. Someone in that midfield that is very much different to what Tottenham currently have. Premier League proven, and is someone who is attacking minded and obviously more of an attacking threat in that midfield that Tottenham simply, in my opinion, do not necessarily have. His creativity, his passing, his dribbling, all are exceptional. And for me, what he brings to the table in terms of that good technical ability, that good creativity, and he's not bad from set pieces either, and his goal contributions outweigh the fact that, we might not be able to cover as much ground, or we may not be able to press as much, or we may not be able to run as much. I think his goal scoring and goal contributions in general outweigh that. I think you can disguise his that particular quote unquote weakness, if you like, with having players around him that are going to complement him very well. I think it's a fantastic signing by Spurs, and I genuinely do believe that it's going to be a better deal than what Kai Havertz is. And I'm not in the kind of business of like comparing signings upon signings, but if I was, I'd be saying that, and I genuinely would be, and I guess I kind of am saying that in a way. But it's not just about what they bring to it's about their price as well. For 60 million on a player that is more of a gamble than what James Maddison is, in my opinion, I'm surprised that Arsenal and a lot of other Premier League teams, by the way, not just Arsenal, but obviously I compare Arsenal because they've made a signing in Kai Havertz of 60 to 65 million that I think is way overpriced for that particular player. But I don't just judge Arsenal. I judge Liverpool. I judge Manchester United. I judge Manchester City. I judge Chelsea. I judge maybe even Brighton to an extent. I judge Newcastle. I know that obviously Newcastle have got other plates in the air spinning, and the likes of Sandro Tonali, and their price and their transfer funds may not be as big as what we first imagined it being. But I judge all of them teams for not challenging or seemingly challenging this James Maddison deal. 40 million for a Premier League proven player who creates a bag full of chances is a steal, in my opinion, for Spurs. And it's a very, very good piece of business. And of all teams to do it, it's Spurs and Daniel Levy. Absolutely incredible. I was going to make the joke. I was thinking about this, right? I was going to make the joke that I was going to announce the James Maddison signing of elsewhere. James Maddison has announced his retirement from winning trophies. Has that joke been overused? Has that joke even been used? Probably has been used, hasn't it? By signing for Spurs, of course. I was going to make that joke, and I was thinking about it, but of course, it's a bit of dead banter in a way. It's a bit of dead banter. So I was going to use that sort of way to announce it, that he's announced his retirement from winning trophies by signing with Spurs. But no, there's a lot up in the air with Spurs right now, but this being their second signing, they've made a smart move for he seems an all right goalkeeper. I don't know too much about him. I haven't seen too much of him, but he seems a competent goalkeeper. And then, of course, you add James Maddison, a player that they've needed for a while, a player that I think enhances their squad and I think changes their squad to be slightly more different and forward-thinking. I like this move. I like this move a lot from the outside looking in. I still can't believe of all teams to have actually pulled this move off. It's Spurs, in all honesty. It's a bit mad to think about. But I like this move. But Tottenham obviously need more. Tottenham need to address their centre-back situation, which we'll get onto a little later. They need to address... I still think there's more to do in that midfield area. And I think they might just need to maybe cover their attack a little bit more in terms of maybe a second striker to back up Kane just in case. Maybe another winger, perhaps. Could be on the cards. I still think there are a few gaps in this Tottenham side that need to be covered. But I'd say so far so good if you're Ange Postecoglou and you've only just came in and you're making these signings. Maddison seems a very, very good signing. Vicario in goal looks to be solid enough. So if you're Ange Postecoglou, so far so good. And like I say, if it continues, but we've been here before with Spurs, haven't we? We've been here with Spurs before when it comes to the transfer window and their fans getting all overhyped by just the potential of certain signings. Remember last season, the Sixth Senses? Yeah, exactly. So just maybe be a bit more reserved, Tottenham fans, right now. Don't get too ahead of yourselves, but so far it looks so good as what Spurs are concerned. And like I say, Kai Havertz signs for Arsenal. Good luck to him. Good luck to Arsenal if they think it's going to work out. Like I say, if I'm proven wrong, I'll hold my hands up and say that I'm proven wrong. And Kai Havertz was actually a masterclass in the stroke of genius by Mikel Arteta. But I just don't fully understand the Kai Havertz situation and how he's going to fit in with this Arsenal squad in general. But as far as James Maddison goes, I think it's a quality signing. I genuinely do. I think it's a quality signing for a Premier League proven midfielder who I think not only can he get better and, he may even get better. And I think maybe his goal contributions may actually improve with playing alongside the likes of Son and Kane in particular. But I just think he's already at a quality level, and I think this is a quality signing by Spurs as a whole. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see how those two signings pan out. But both London clubs. I'm going to say the only two London clubs. No, both Arsenal and Tottenham both making big moves in this transfer window. Moving on to a team that definitely needs to make some big moves in this transfer window. They've already made one, but they need to make more, is Liverpool Football Club. And the interesting story came out yesterday in regards to Liverpool's pursuit of Dominik Szoboszlai. We're going to run with Szoboszlai. That is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say Szoboszlai. I'm going to say that that's his name because that is possibly his name. Is that how you pronounce his name? Maybe not. And I do apologize if I completely butchered it, but we're going to go with Szoboszlai. The news came out yesterday from David Ornstein that Liverpool are exploring move for Dominik Szoboszlai of RB Leipzig. Liverpool met his camp this week. Latest attacking mid to be considered. Unclear if it develops due to price, but is desired profile, unrelated to potential Carvalho loan. David Ornstein there talking about this. So, there's probably some legitimacy and some truth behind it as he has been dropping these truth bombs and these big nuclear truth bombs at that on this transfer window, left, right, and centre throughout the early stages of the window. And then Fabrizio Romano followed up. He put out a tweet in June because there was a bit of debate and a bit of controversy and conflict over this release clause that Szoboszlai has within his contract. He put out a tweet in June that says that he understands the release clause for Dominik Szoboszlai is valid until June the 30th and not until July the 15th. Release clauses available for 70 million euros only in case club submits official bid within June 30th. If bid is submitted later, the clause will only be valid for winter window. So from what it says to me is that Liverpool have until midnight Saturday morning to get a bid in that will hit the release clause, trigger it, and then of course they can go on and get the deal done should they of course want to do so. So they have to put the bid in before July the 1st. Anytime before July the 1st, between now and then, so the next 24 hours or so. And then after that, they can negotiate everything else that goes along with that, and they can get the deal done for that price. So for 70 million euros, you're about looking at around about £60 million for this player. Now, admittedly, I didn't know too much about this guy. I knew a little bit. I'd obviously seen him whenever I've watched a few RB Leipzig games. I don't claim to be a religious fan of Bundesliga football. I don't claim to be a religious viewer of RB Leipzig or Bundesliga. But I think I'd probably seen him without necessarily going in depth on this guy. Richard Hutchinson, hey dude, how are you doing on this fine Thursday morning? Hope you are well, my good friend. Where did Arsenal get the money from for Kai Havertz and Declan Rice? Liverpool have been top for 5 years, challenging City. Where is Liverpool money? FSG out and no ambition by FSG. Mate, I've been saying this for a while. No matter what Liverpool have done these past several years, we seem to have no money. And to say no money is a bit of an exaggeration, of course, but we don't have the same extent or ambition as, say, an Arsenal are showing right now. You look at Arsenal, they've not had Champions League football for the past several years, and they've still gone out and spent big money on some big players. And this summer alone, they've already spent big money on Rice and Havertz. So whether or not Liverpool have won the Premier League, won the Champions League, not won the Premier League, not won the Champions League, got top four, not got top four, won the FA Cup, won the League Cup, not won the FA Cup, not won the League Cup, apparently we still don't have the same level of ambition as Arsenal. It's mad and frustrating, but until Liverpool fans wake up, smell the coffee and see what's happening elsewhere and maybe make more of a stand, it's unfortunately going to be like this for a very, very long time. And the more that this may happen, the more I fear that Liverpool may fall away within time. I think we've got maybe a few more years left before the Saudi money really takes hold of Newcastle, and then we're in trouble. We've got a few more years maybe left until maybe the Qatar money of Manchester United, if that takeover is to go through, which it does seem like it's going to go through, and they're going to be back to being at the top of the English pyramid yet again. Man City will obviously be Man City, and then you're looking at maybe Chelsea obviously filling that gap as well with the amount of riches and ambition that they show. So, yeah, I get it, dude, 100%. I get it. It's frustrating. It's annoying, but that's the situation we are currently in until maybe we get owners that have got more ambition and owners that are actually going to push the boat out more for the fans and for the club. But that is it. Liverpool don't sell players before they go on a free transfer, like Genie, Bobby, Ox, Origi, Keita, Klein, Milner, Ojo, Woodburn, Lallana, Moreno, Markovic, Toure, Enrique, Johnson, Karius, and Gerrard. I mean, Gerrard obviously is the exception to that because he's a club legend. I would have loved to have seen him just stay forever. But I know at the same time, I understand what you're saying. Like, Liverpool don't do the whole sell to buy thing anymore. We did it a few times at the start of Klopp's reign. The likes of obviously Coutinho coming in, going out, selling a few players here and there for big money. I think we sold Benteke for like 30 million. I think we sold a couple of other players for about 15 million or 20 million, or we got some decent money for some proper deadwood players at that point. But yeah, for the past few years, we've been run so poorly that we just haven't been able to. When you consider the likes of Ox and Keita are like 28, 27, and I know Keita and Ox have both had their injury issues, but to not even try and sell them for maybe even like 25, 30 million a piece is a bit mad in my opinion, especially when you're out there and you're looking at the market right now and you're seeing midfielders that are going for about 50 to 60 million a piece. You're seeing Kai Havertz go for 60 to 65 million. You're seeing Mason Mount in his final year of his contract trying to be sold for 60 odd million. It's bizarre and mad to me that this would be the case. Even Mane leaving for 30 million last summer. An absolute steal by Bayern Munich. I know that his move hasn't obviously worked out in the Bundesliga, but for 30 million for a Premier League proven quality player who reinvented himself a little bit towards the end of his Liverpool career by moving more as a striker. It's mad to me, mate. It's mad to me that this is the case. But just getting back to this Szoboszlai interest from Liverpool. Like I said, I don't know too much about this guy. I know a little bit. I know a little bit from little bits that I've seen. I've watched Leipzig. I'm not a religious follower of the Bundesliga. I'm not a religious follower of Leipzig, but I have watched a little bit of him. I do know a little bit. I've had to do a bit more research and obviously listen and hear a few things about him. So what have I learned? Well, I've learned that if you play his name in a game of Scrabble, you pretty much win right off the bat. And I know what you're thinking. Luke, you can't have names in Scrabble. You can't put names down in Scrabble. Well, I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. It's my house. It's my rules. So if I want to play Szoboszlai, if I want to play the names of Jussi Jääskeläinen and Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink, I will damn well do so to win a game of Scrabble. End of story. But no. Szoboszlai looks to me like a quality player. I'm not gonna lie, he looks quality. He looks like a very, very promising playmaker in this midfield. He's 22 years old. He's an attacking midfielder. He's made 46 appearances across all competitions for Leipzig this season. He scored 10 goals and assisted 13 times. He originally came from Salzburg. He was another one in the long list of players to follow from the Red Bull of Salzburg to the Red Bull of Leipzig. Made that obviously cross using the stepping stone sort of method there before it seems like he's going to be the latest player to be heavily linked with a move away from Leipzig, as what a lot of quality players have been over the years. And obviously Liverpool have benefited from that as well, with obviously signing the likes of Naby Keita and Ibrahima Konate from the German club as well. He looks very technically gifted. He looks very quick. He looks creative. He looks like he's got a bit of an engine on him as well. Bit of a free number 8, if anything. He can be a bit more attacking minded, be a bit more creative, be a bit more of a playmaker, but he can also be a bit of a box to box as well. And he's also very versatile. He can play as that playmaker and he can play as that number 8, but he can also play as a winger. And I think that's good cover to have for the likes of Salah and for obviously maybe on the left-hand side. Maybe not so much for the left-hand side because obviously I think we've got a few players that can cover there. The likes of obviously Diaz is your main left winger, I would assume. But you can also play Jota on that left-hand side. And obviously Darwin Núñez has been transitioned to a left winger as well. But I genuinely think that this could be a quality move by Liverpool. If obviously we get the deal done, I know it's going to be difficult. There is a lot of money at stake here. I don't think we necessarily will because I think there is a lot of money. But if you were to say to me, 35 million from McAllister, 60 million on this guy, and then maybe 45 to 50 million on a Kefren Thuram, who I think would complement both of these players brilliantly, I would say that is a brilliant start to rebuilding the midfield. Then maybe you could throw in a Lavia, maybe one for the more of the future, if that's to be the case. Or maybe you could go for someone who's a bit more defensively solid. I know Kefren Thuram may fit that mold as well, but maybe with someone a bit more defensive. Or then you can maybe go, you know what, we trust this. We'll move on to looking at our defense and improving that. And maybe they'll look at that side, which definitely needs to happen, by the way. The defense definitely needs to be looked at. This is a rebuild for Liverpool. Liverpool needs second goalkeeper, right back, centre back, 3 midfielders, right forward, and number 9 is Gakpo Núñez. If Gakpo Núñez comes good this season, I remember you saying that last time, bro. And I completely agree with you to an extent. Liverpool's second goalkeeper. Again, I think it more depends on the Kelleher situation and obviously if David Raya does leave Brentford, because I feel like Brentford is his only logical and rightful place to go. So we'll have to wait and see if obviously something happens with David Raya. Right back, I think it depends on the way Klopp wants to play. But centre back, I completely agree with you. On that one. 3 midfielders. Well, we've already got McAllister in, so that takes away 1. If we can get this guy in, which I know is going to be tough, and we're kind of racing against the clock to kind of beat that release clause expiring or whatever, I think that could be a good second edition. Kefren Thuram, in my opinion, will be the perfect third edition. So I agree with you there. Right forward, I think this guy can fit in as right forward. So I don't know if really you consider him to be in that bracket as well. But yeah, potentially. And a number 9. For me, I don't think we need a number 9. I think Gakpo is good enough to start, and we've got Diogo Jota, who can obviously wait in the wings and mask a mediocre performance with a goal or two. And if we've got someone who's firing and doing very well in scoring goals in Diogo Jota, he may not be dropping the most perfect of performances, but if he's scoring, I don't really care what he does, to be honest. I don't really care how he plays. But I do understand you for the most part on that one. Why are Liverpool dipping into the German and Portuguese league again? And again, we need proven quality, world-class generational talent, trophies, winners, and match winners. FSG have no ambition. It's not just Liverpool, bro. It's not just Liverpool, but a lot of players are looking at the German and Portuguese market more and more in the Portuguese market. Obviously, if you look at a lot of players that have come from the Portuguese market down the years, you'll see the likes of Man City, Chelsea and Manchester United all have at some point dipped their toes into the pool of the Portuguese market. Bruno Fernandes at Manchester United, the likes of Edison and Ruben Diaz, to name a couple, at Manchester City. Enzo Fernandez, obviously coming from Benfica, was it? I'm sure it was Benfica. I was 100% sure it was Benfica until I said it. And now I've said it, I'm like worried it's not. But I genuinely think it is. But yeah, a lot more Premier League teams are starting to look towards the Portuguese market for talent. And obviously the German market still provides the odd gem here and there. You'll see that City are being linked with Josko Gvardiol of RB Leipzig. So there is more and more talent out there. I get what you're saying, that Liverpool need talent for the here and now. I'm always on the fence with these kinds of things. I'm always saying I don't want to judge too many players before they've actually had a chance to prove themselves. So I'm going to sit on the fence with this one. I'm going to trust this process, like I said I would do for a lot of time. And I said that he needs to be backed and he needs to get the players that he wants. And if results are still the same inconsistent level that they were this past campaign, then I might have to start thinking about maybe being Klopp out, Well, I'm already FSG out, but yeah, I'll have to maybe start reconsidering things a little bit. Is Kone, Thuram, Gravenberg, Vega, Barella, Chiesa, Chuanemi, Valverde, Lavea, Van der Ven, Inesio, and Pavard, are they any good? City are getting Kovacic and Arsenal getting Rice and Havertz. I mean, all those players will do a good job for Liverpool. A lot of them are obviously more for the future than they are for the present, I'd say. I'd say obviously Kone, although Kone did leave apparently on crutches yesterday in France's under-21s game. So don't know if Kone is going to happen now, depending on the extent of his injury. I think Thuram could do a job for the here and now to an extent, but he's a little bit more so for the future. But I think he could still make an impact right now. Gravenberg, 50-50 again. 50-50 again. Vega, he's had a very good season for Sevilla, but I think maybe more so for the future. It is Sevilla, right? Again, I did stuff on this and I forget easily. My brain and my memory is not so good. Barella for the here and now would be perfect. Chiesa, I have reservations over his recent injuries. Chuanemi, I think, would be fantastic in this Jurgen Klopp system. I think Chuanemi will be perfect. I don't think he's had the best of times at Real Madrid, but I think with a bit more stability and a bit more confidence breathe within him, and I think with Klopp's management style, I think he'd be perfect. Pavard, I think, would be perfect. Valverde, I think, would be perfect. Lavia, one for the future. Van der Ven looks a very good centre-back that I know Tottenham are very much interested in, and I think we should move quickly on that one to get a left-sided centre-back in who's quick, who's strong, who's good with the ball at his feet. So would like that one. But yeah, I get it. There are a lot of things there, and I think Liverpool need to act quickly. But I'm not losing my mind just yet. I'm not losing my mind just yet on all this. Liverpool will finish 6th or 5th. Arsenal, Newcastle, United, Chelsea, Spurs will all be up there for UCL. You've got put Spurs up there. Interesting. Europa and Conference League, first City. I mean, I agree with you. Right now, it looks like City are going to be winning it again. I don't personally give Tottenham a lot of... I think Tottenham are going to be an interesting case this season, but I don't think they will finish above us by any means. No, I don't think they'll finish above us by any means, but I think they'll be an interesting watch this season, Spurs. Liverpool's budget is 30 million, 40 million, stubborn Klopp and FSG, no ambition. I think Klopp can do more, don't get me wrong. Klopp can do more, and obviously when you hear him in certain press conferences try and back the owners, you know, it's a very difficult position for him because I think he knows what the fans want to hear and what he wants to say to them. But it's more FSG, if anything. It's definitely more FSG. So I'll back Klopp to the extent. Matip is injury prone. Gomez and Konate make too many mistakes and error in their game. Trent can't defend. Matip, injury prone. Yes, I've said this season might be the best time to move him on, but that doesn't appear to be happening. Gomez, I said the same. He is injury prone as well. But again, I said maybe this season is probably the best time to move him on, but I also said that we may need to keep him just to fill out our homegrown quota, because as much as it's good that we're maybe going after these players, our homegrown quota might be a bit thin, to say the least. So I think Gomez will stay. Konate, he's a quality defender. He does make a few mistakes here and there, but when he's on form, he is very, very good. He just needs to stop being injured all the time. We just need to manage him a little better, and he needs to manage himself a little better, in my opinion. And Trent can defend. He just, again, he falls into category. He just makes mistakes. That's it. He just makes mistakes. He can defend. We have seen him defend. He just makes too many mistakes, in my opinion. I think he gets a bad rap for his defending. Obviously, his attacking prowess and his attacking intent obviously outweighs his defensive standing and everything. But that doesn't mean he can't defend. We've seen him defend. We've seen him do well defending. It's just he doesn't do it on a consistent or regular enough basis. And what a lot of people do is they see Liverpool concede a goal and they automatically think it's Trent's fault. And they try and pick holes in Trent's defending all the time, even if it's not Trent's fault. So Trent can defend. I will defend him to that point. I know that he's made mistakes. I know he's made big mistakes at that, but we know that Trent can defend. Why are we getting development? Young, future, and inexperienced players. Liverpool need now players hit the ground running. We win. Match winners, world class, and generational talented players. But who's to say who's ready now, though? That's my issue. Who's to say who's ready now? Like, don't get me wrong. I think that to an extent you are right. But you see players that are going to these clubs, these big clubs, that not even in their full prime. Like, they are playing very well for the clubs that they're at right now. And I genuinely believe that age doesn't really matter. Age does not really matter. If you're good enough, you're good enough. If you're gonna, like, we just signed McAllister, 24, who's 24. Like, are you telling me at 24 years of age, going on 25, McAllister's not good enough for right now? At the age of 24, 25, Gerrard was winning the Champions League. Manchester City are on the verge of maybe signing a 21-year-old Josko Gvardiol, who is one of the most highly rated and highly sought of centre-backs in world football right now. Declan Rice is 24 years of age. He's just gone to Arsenal. You telling me he's not here for the right here right now? Age doesn't really matter, I don't think. And I think that if you're good enough, you're good enough, and you'll grow into it. And I think that these players will grow into it. whether it's right off the bat or whether it's maybe a year or so down the line, and you mix that inexperience with experience, you've still got the likes of Henderson in there, you've still got the likes of Thiago in there, you've still got the likes of, to an extent, Fabinho, you've got Van Dijk in there. These players will mix and they will blend. And I know that obviously Thiago's injury prone, and I know that Fabinho's dropped off a cliff, but there's still that experience and that leadership in there. And obviously, I think that maybe, just maybe, if you get the right blend of players in there, that with the right structure and right leadership behind them, they can definitely do a job for the team and they can definitely be brilliant for the here and now and for the future. Look at Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka's grown immensely over the years and he's still, 21, 22, something along them lines? He's grown immensely over the past few years. Age to me, I don't think is that bad. And I think that anybody who is worried that these players are young that we're being linked to, or anyone who's being linked to, may just need to calm down a little bit and maybe just give them a chance before they judge them purely based off of what year they were born. Do you rate Bajcetic, Elliott and Jones any good? Any more Academy English players coming through into the first team like Gerrard, Trent, Owen and Carragher? Bajcetic came into the squad in a very difficult part of the season and really stepped up. I'm very interested to see his development. And I think if he can do that whilst being chucked in the deep end, I would expect him to get even better going forward when the pressure is a little bit less off of him. So I do rate Bajcetic. Elliott, I like the guy. I just hope that we can find a position for him and he can nail down a position going forward in which we can really enhance and further his development. And Jones, if you'd have asked me in January what I wanted to do with Jones, I would have told you to sell him. But after his performances towards the back end of the season, I think he deserves one more season. If it's another season of inconsistency, if it's another season of poor performances or injury hit season, get rid next season. But he deserves one more season. Plus, again, it's a little bit bad on our part, but he is English. He is homegrown. He fills in that squad registration quota. So there you have it. The guy from Napoli, who I cannot pronounce his name because my brain just absolutely fries. I know who you mean, but he's a very, very good player. I know who you mean. Kvaratskhelia. Have I pronounced that right? Fingers crossed I have. Again, another one that could win you a game of Scrabble, I'm sure. Vinicius Jr. and Martinelli twist Trent for fun. I don't know how biased and say it. I don't know how biased and say who. Look, I've seen him go against the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo. I've seen him go against the likes, and I know that obviously everyone has their bad days. I know he had a bad day against Marcus Rashford at once upon a time, and I know that he's had good days against him since. And I know he's had good days against top quality players in the past. He's had good games against Neymar. He's had good games against some of the best left wingers. Kvaratskhelia was someone who was completely different. Turn him inside out, 100%. I get it. There have been bad days for Trent. I said that. I said he's made mistakes. I said he's had poor performances. 100%. I get that. Vinicius Jr. very similar. Vinicius Jr. absolute quality winger. Very, very underrated, I think. I think he's still very much underrated in today's game. Martinelli had him on toast, particularly in the game we played at the Emirates this season. Not so much, I remember, from the game at Anfield, or at least not after the first half an hour or so anyway. I get that he makes mistakes. I get that his defending isn't as good as his attacking outlay. But at the same time, I know and I have seen Trent can defend. Can he defend on a more consistent basis? Not necessarily. Should he be able to by now? Probably. But if we move him more into midfield, I think it could play to more of his strengths. And it's like I said with James Maddison, you can disguise a player's weaknesses sometimes. It's not completely foolproof, don't get me wrong, but you can disguise a player's weaknesses. And I think by moving him into midfield, you can disguise or maybe cover for his slight weaknesses that his defending doesn't match up to his attacking outlay. So I agree with what you're saying. He's had bad performances. He's had bad games. He's had some embarrassing games. Everybody has. But to say that he can't defend entirely is a total misconception, and is a total fallacy, and it's a total lie. So that's all I'll say on that one. Fabinho, Henderson, Jones, Bajcetic, Elliott, Thiago, and McAllister won't challenge City to win trophies. I mean, Liverpool won a Premier League title playing Henderson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum. Now, I get that obviously Fabinho and Henderson are a couple of years older and everything, but in a Klopp system, if it's all right, again, you don't need to spend money on the top quality players. Like, for me, everybody says like they want Mbappe. Let's take Mbappe as an example. Everybody would want Mbappe. Would Mbappe do well for a Manchester City? Would he do well for a Liverpool? In my opinion, he'd do all right. He'd get a few goals here and there. But it wouldn't play to his strengths because everybody that plays against Liverpool, everybody that plays against Man City, they sit back. They sit back, they close out the spaces, they don't allow anyone to run in behind, and they try and hit you on the counter-attack. For me, Mbappe is world-class. But he wouldn't be or look world-class at a consistent level playing for a Liverpool or a Man City, in my opinion, because a lot of his game relies on pace and relies on being able to run in behind. Don't get me wrong, it'll still be great. He'll still find a way to maybe adapt, but a lot of it is down to his pace. He won't be allowed that with Liverpool. He won't be allowed that with Man City. So my point here is that the world-class players of this world, the ones that you claim may show ambition from FSG's side if they were to go out and get them, might not be the right fit for this Liverpool squad, for the way that Klopp wants to play, for everything along these lines. I 100% get where you're coming from in terms of Liverpool need to show ambition. Liverpool need to get these quality players in. I get that to an extent. But at the same time, I just back whatever... I just back what I can see from a Liverpool midfield and how it's slowly trying to evolve and be a bit more forward-thinking. McAllister, to me, is a bit more forward-thinking. He's an industrious worker. He works very hard, but he can also have a bit of a playmaker style in him, going a bit more forward. Liverpool have suffered with a midfield that has been too similar for too long. Given where we are right now, I would genuinely say that it's not a terrible position to be in. It's not the best. Of course it's not. I'd love to be signing the players that obviously Arsenal are signing. I'd love to be signing the players that Man City are signing. I'd love to be signing the players that Real Madrid are obviously signing. But at the same time, I just feel that we shouldn't judge what we're doing right now because we've been crying out for a Liverpool rebuild in midfield. Crying out for a Liverpool rebuild. It's not going to happen overnight because we let it go and rot for so long. It's not going to happen overnight. It's got to be to a point where, like I say, it's got to be a point to where we say we've got to rebuild and we've got to look for the right players and the right kind of characteristics and the attributes and traits that they have. And I think that these players show that. Trent, double pivot or right back or midfield. I think you can play him as a double pivot. And I would say that obviously, given the situation and given the scenario at play, if Trent's having a game in midfield that he can't get the ball enough or he can't play make enough, and you need to stretch the game or you need to find a way to bring him into the game, pull him out wide, bring him back to a right back, go forward at the back and give him some space out wide, and maybe he can be a bit more influential on that right-hand side. I think that versatility is going to be really key for Liverpool this season. And it's going to be a very interesting watch going forward. Liverpool going backwards and staying still. Everyone else going past us. This is frustrating, getting me angry this summer and next season. Look, it's frustrating watching everybody else go forward because of the amount of things that they're doing right now. Liverpool made a very good out the gate kind of signing in McAllister. They obviously need to follow that up. 100%, I get that. Just my kind of call is for everybody to stay calm. Don't go too crazy. wait until the end of the transfer window to go crazy, because you never know what you could be opening yourself up for. That's just my call on this. Hey, Ballum, how you doing, bro? Nice to see you, my dude. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good Thursday morning. Liverpool need players ASAP. 100% agree with you. Dominik, will be interesting if Liverpool get along with Leipzig. We know how difficult Leipzig can be. They're not really a selling club. They're not really in any position to kind of sell their players. So it could be a very difficult signing to take. Liverpool took the time-consuming, delayed, time-wasting with Jude Bellingham. Yeah, I get it. Like, I was frustrated. I did a few videos on Jude Bellingham. I was really excited of the prospect of Liverpool signing him. And then, of course, they turn around after 2 years of chasing him and say, no, we're not going to be pursuing him any further. Like they expected things to change. I 100% get that. But when you look at the context over it, I think getting McAllister, Thuram, and if this guy does come, or like a Valverde does come in that midfield, that, in my opinion, will be somewhat better in certain areas and certain aspects than just signing one Jude Bellingham. That's just in my opinion. Like, I'm not buying into the FSG stuff. Don't get me wrong. Definitely not buying into the FSG stuff. Definitely not saying that I'm happy that we've chosen alternatives over Jude Bellingham. Definitely not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that if we were to go for alternatives, this is probably the best that we can get. I get that. Reece Williams out on loan. Will Liverpool take the risk and not have 5 centre-backs this season? I still think we make a centre-back signing. I still can't envision a world in which we don't make a centre-back signing this summer, especially if we're going to be playing free at the back more. If we're going to be playing free at the back more, I don't understand why we wouldn't make another centre-back signing. If we are going to, if we have sent out Reece Williams on loan, if we are going to get rid of Nat Phillips to Leeds, as Richard points out here, or to anywhere really, I can't envision a world in which we don't make a centre-back signing. And if we don't, it's a massive oversight, and then I will be angry. Put it that way. If Trent goes into midfield, who should Liverpool sign as a backup right back? Javi Manquillo. I don't want Manquillo back. Yep, I don't want Manquillo back. Like I said, I think Benjamin Pavard to me is a perfect signing, because you're looking at a fullback. Well, you're looking at a right centre back who has experience of playing right back, can fill out that position, both positions very well, can create cover, has experience, 27 years of age, just entering his prime. For me, Benjamin Pavard would be perfect, but things seem to have gone a bit cold on that story. So we'll wait and see. Stay calm. Let's see how Liverpool do in July. Absolutely. That's my call to everyone. If anyone's panicking, my call is to just stay calm until the end of the summer, because you don't know what's going to happen until the end of the summer. And like I say, if it's still more of the same, don't maybe turn your hatred and attention towards Klopp. Turn your hatred and attention towards FSG. Because at the end of the day, Klopp's just an employee. And as annoying and as difficult as it may be, if anything, if you are going to turn your attention towards Klopp, beg for him to walk away. If FSG don't give him what he wants, don't give him what he needs, tell Klopp to walk away before we completely ruin him. If obviously he doesn't get what he wants, if he doesn't get what he needs, if FSG continue not to push the boat out for this guy who has done so much for the club over the years, tell him to walk away. Simple as that. Manchester City are closing in on signing Luca Fletcher from Reading for around about 600k with future add-ons. Close to my name. Yeah, very close. Very, very, very close. I like it. Captain Fletcher needs to be the new manager and owner, not Klopp and FSG. You will be the... I mean, in a dream somewhere or in an alternate universe, maybe so. But for now, let's leave it to the experts. And for me, I'll just leave it to playing Football Manager. Which formation, tactic, system, and style of play do you want Klopp to play for next season? I quite like the three at the back formation, moving Trent into midfield. I quite like that. I think it showed a bit of evolution, a bit of progression, and obviously we've seen Pep Guardiola do it at Manchester City, so that does seem to be at least the latest trend within the Premier League and within football right now. So I'm happy to see how this new formation does go with the extra man in midfield. And like, of course, when you have a player like Trent with his ability, his quality, and his versatility, you can move him into midfield. And if obviously it's not working out for him in midfield, you can pull him back out to the wing to obviously create more space for him and hopefully for him to have a bigger influence on the game. So who do you want to be the next Liverpool manager? You know what? As a bit of an outsider, I've always said I rated Thomas Frank. Because I think he carries a very similar sort of energy to Jurgen Klopp. I think he plays a very, not too dissimilar, but very like similar, but not similar, if you know what I mean, style to Jurgen Klopp. I think I think Thomas Frank is definitely within a shout, but I'm also interested to see who else is going to make it like a young manager that can probably build something. A return for Xabi Alonso, maybe if Steven Gerrard can resurrect himself from obviously the horror display at Aston Villa, maybe that could still be the dream one day. It just needs to be someone who is on the up and up, you know? Just needs to be someone like that. I've always rated Thomas Frank, though. I just always had a bit of a soft spot for Thomas Frank, and I've always thought maybe in like a year or two, obviously in a couple of years when obviously, or 2 or 3 years when obviously Klopp's going to be leaving, maybe by then he might be ready, but we'll wait and see on that one. We've still got 3 years to think about it, but I'm interested to know who you would want, to be honest. Who would you want to replace Klopp at the end of his reign as manager? Very interested to know that one. Who do you want as owners of Liverpool in the future? Give me Saudi money. Let us be lottery winners. Let us win the lottery and give us Saudi money. Why not? Why not? Like everybody else is going to be doing it eventually. Everybody else is going to have Middle Eastern money. So why not let us be next? Why not let us be next in the queue? Julian Nagelsmann, Thomas Tuchel, Steven Gerrard, and Xabi Alonso are my 4 options. Nice. I like Nagelsmann. We'll have to see what's next for him, but I like Nagelsmann. I like the idea. I don't know, obviously, if the Bayern thing will have burnt him too much, but we'll have to wait and see. Same with Gerrard. I don't know if obviously Villa, that job would have burnt him too much. Thomas Tuchel, okay, but I don't know if I'd like his style of play, to be honest. And Xabi Alonso will be interesting to watch for the future. Xabi Alonso will definitely be one to watch for the future. So he's had a good start at Leverkusen, but we'll wait and see on him for the future. I'll be interested to hear. I like Thomas Frank. I like Thomas Frank. I think he's got a very similar sort of energy to Jurgen Klopp, like I say, and his style of play is not too dissimilar from Klopp. So I think that maybe a step up might be something interesting for him, but we'll wait and see. I think Julian is a very good young coach. I agree. I rated him when he was at Leipzig. I rated him when he was at Bayern Munich. I think he got unfairly sacked at Munich, and I was very intrigued to see where his next move would be. I didn't want him to go to Tottenham because I felt like he would ruin his career if he went to Tottenham, so I'm glad he stayed away. I thought Chelsea would be, apart from Luis Enrique, of course, a very good match for him, but we'll wait and see. Did you know Tuchel replaced Klopp at Mainz and Dortmund? Will he replace him at Liverpool? I wouldn't be surprised personally. I want to see him do well. Yeah, I know he did. I know that he followed in his footsteps, didn't he? Yeah, pretty much. Before, obviously, Tuchel went to PSG, and then obviously he moved to Chelsea. So he arrived in the Premier League a little later than what Klopp did. But yeah, I get that. I'm not a big fan of his style of play, to be honest. But we'll have to wait and see. Roberto De Zerbi, Julian Nagelsmann, Pep. Well, I don't think Pep will come. even when he does finish up at Man City, I think that's a massive long shot. I think he's built too much of a reputation at Manchester City to jump to another Premier League club. So for me, Pep will go and find a new challenge elsewhere. He'll probably go to PSG, where there's a lot of money and there's obviously something to achieve there in terms of more Champions League glory, or more Champions League glory for him, and for him to be the first manager to maybe win the Champions League, assuming that nobody does before he gets there, if he gets there. Whilst De Zerbi, I like the look of him. We're going to obviously, this is going to be a big season for Brighton, and we're going to see whether he continues to float or whether he actually sinks. So I'm interested to see the progression of De Zerbi in the Premier League. And yeah, Nagelsmann, you share a very similar opinion to Ballon there in terms of maybe having him as the new manager. What do you think about Pep Lijnders? Good or bad? I think there's something maybe to work with there. I wouldn't want him to replace Klopp instantly because I don't know too much. I know that obviously he's had a bit more of an influence and a bit more of an impact, I guess you'd say, on Liverpool these past few years, especially when it comes to the cup games, I think. But I don't know. I think it's a massive gamble to bring him in. Obviously, it wouldn't be too much of a change in terms of the Liverpool squad and what they already know from Klopp and how they've been drilled under Klopp in recent years. So it wouldn't be too much of a change. A player, a guy that knows the inside and out of Liverpool and the way that Jurgen Klopp likes to do things, I don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing. But at the same time, if you're talking about Pep Lijnders maybe taking over from Klopp as being full-time manager, I wouldn't say that would be a great idea. Of course, I could be proven wrong, but it is a massive gamble in my opinion. Did you talk about Jamie Vardy saying no to Saudi Arabia? It was very random today. Was the links with Jamie Vardy? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me because yet again, it's another player with a bit of a reputation here in Europe. So it wouldn't surprise me if obviously Saudi Arabia were going for a Jamie Vardy type figure. But again, I didn't hear anything about maybe links between Saudi and Vardy and whether or not that will happen. But if he wants to get out of the Championship and out of Leicester and just take a payday towards the end of his retirement, I can understand why. Do you want more stadium extension at Anfield, Liverpool? Do you think Liverpool purchase terrace houses, demolish them and rebuild the stands? Can only be good for financial income. Not that we'll ever get to see it being spent, but it'd be good for the fans. Probably good, bigger atmosphere, maybe. Yeah, it could be all right, I guess. If obviously stadium extensions is something that they're going to be looking at for the future, and I know that obviously they're doing it right now. More so in the future, perhaps, but yeah, we'll wait and see on that one. Like I say, it's a lot of weird FSG stuff and a lot of issues to be resolved. Other than that, whether or not the stadium gets extended or not, I'm sure everybody will have their say on that one, and whether or not it's going to be good for actually the match day going fans, or whether it's just going to be good for tourists or not. I think Liverpool's biggest problem is ticket problems. At least Liverpool women using Melwood training ground. Yeah, it was good to get that back. And it was good for the club to obviously have a bit of, not just necessarily nostalgia, but obviously, just to have a place for them to go and a place for them to train and everything. So yeah, happy with that. Happy with that. And obviously, like I say, if obviously things continue in this sort of vein, Liverpool's tickets are going to continue to be sold out. Do you think Liverpool ticket prices will go down and shirt prices will go down? Do you think women's football will be better than men's football? Women's football still got a long way to go. Women's football's got a long way to go. And that's not me being at all rude or disrespectful in any sort of way. Women's football just has a long way to go because there's not enough money. There's not enough money. There's not enough I'd say maybe experience. There's not enough backing I'd say, in it. It's still developing and it's coming along very, very nicely. And especially over the past maybe 15, 20 years or so, it's obviously gotten to a point where it's growing and it's getting bigger and better, and that's brilliant to see. All football getting bigger and better is brilliant to see, regardless of where you are in the world, what your preference is. So it's very good to see that women's football is getting bigger and better. Of course, there will be a time where there'll always be a gap. There'll always be a gap between men's football and women's football, because there's no way, in my opinion, that women's football will ever accelerate into the fast lane to catch up with men's football. It just, in my opinion, it just won't happen, because there's going to be a lack of backing there. There's going to be a lack of just a lack of training and experience and all of that stuff in general with that kind of thing. But it is developing and it's great to see, and it's always, occasionally I will cast my eye over it if there's a big women's Super League game going on, or if the England women are playing. Occasionally I might cast my eye over it. But yeah, it's coming along very, very nicely, and it's gonna continue to grow and progress, which is going to be great to see. As far as what ticket prices going up or down, or shirt sales, I see them being at the same level, to be honest. They'll probably have a small increase, and I think they had a small increase at Liverpool this season. Don't understand why. Did they use the expression? Did they use the false narrative that, we didn't get the Champions League, so we're having to raise it up a little bit? Great. Well, we're not in the Champions League, mate. So, why'd you raise it? So I don't know. Women's football is still developing. Absolutely right, Ballum. Women's football is still developing, and it's coming along very, very nicely. And you would expect that with maybe more backing, more financial input, and maybe with more experience in the women's game, maybe that can obviously continue to grow and develop over time. The Saudi Pro League is still developing and trying. Let's see where they go in a few years. They're showing massive amounts of ambition, the Saudi Pro League. So, and the worst part about it is like their ceiling doesn't seem to be, they don't seem to have a ceiling. The sky seems to be the limit. So they're not going to be stopping anytime soon. That Saudi train is going and is a runaway train that is not going to stop. US women won Mbappe, Ronaldo, Neymar, Haaland, KDB, and Messi money. Do you think it will happen? I don't think it can. I genuinely don't think, because men's football draws attention from all areas of the globe. Men's football just simply does, especially when you consider the big leagues, the money-making leagues, unless you have money like Saudi Arabia, which is only just starting to have an influence on the game. Obviously, the Premier League, La Liga, French League, all German League, they all have big money, big wages, because they draw the most attention, because they get the most eyes on that product. It's not necessarily about how good you are, it's about how much of a brand you have. The women's brand is growing slowly but surely. Or maybe not slowly but surely, but is growing very, very surely over the past 15, 20 years or so, like I say. But I don't necessarily believe you can start. I know that some of them women are very good, and I know that some of them women are very talented. I just don't think you can necessarily have the same amount of money that, say, Leo Messi's on compared to what some of the women are on. Because, like I say, it's about quality. It's about quality. It's about talent, and it's about obviously eyes on the product overall. That's mainly what that would be about. Richard has all the serious questions today. I mean, women professional players will need good money to live bi-weekly. Oh, of course, and they'll still get paid for it. There'll always still be good enough money out there, but I don't think you can maybe get to the heights of, maybe one day they can, and with the sport continuing to grow, maybe one day that will reach that sort of level. But yeah, right now, I don't think it's possible or will happen. What do you think about what do you think about US soccer, China, and Saudi Arabia? China shot themselves in the foot with their money taxes thing. Otherwise, they would have continued to grow like what Saudi Arabia are doing. Saudi Arabia, it doesn't look like they're going to stop. US football kind of came to a little bit of a halt once the kind of talent dried up a little bit in terms of obviously players looking to retire in a very nice setting of America. Yeah, I mean, if the Saudi Pro League is going to continue to grow, they've got a ton of ambition behind them. Doesn't look like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. So fair enough if that is to obviously be the case. What's next? You never know. England women could win the World Cup. They won the Euro. England women. Yeah. I mean, the England women team is doing very well right now. It seems they tend to do well in decent tournaments. I know they've been progressing a hell of a lot this past decade, especially. But yeah, definitely could. I'm very intrigued to see them go forward, and I'm very intrigued to see how women's football develops going forward as well. That's why I love these streams. I started off talking about like Declan Rice and Szoboszlai, and now I'm on to women's football and US football and Saudi Arabia and all sorts. I love it. Chinese league, hardly anybody watches. MLS has many teams and now have Messi. Saudi league is trying to improve, so good luck to them. Let's see what they do. Sorry, dude, if you hurt your feelings. I don't know what he did. Jordan Hyman, hey, dude, how are you doing on this fine Thursday morning? Saw you stream last night, my bro. Very, very good. Very solid stream. Very intriguing to hear your thoughts on Declan Rice, of course. So hope you are doing well. What's your thoughts on Szoboszlai? I don't know if you might have seen it from around Twitter and everything. Want to know your thoughts, bro? Obviously being a Liverpool fan, so do want to know your thoughts on that, my dude. Yeah, Chinese Super League is a league that, like I say, shot themselves in the foot because their progression halted because Chinese imposed laws and things on their league to stop the influence from growing any further. The MLS league was basically based on players with a high profile that came in. So your likes of your David Beckhams, your Thierry Henrys, your Steven Gerrards, your Frank Lampards had a certain level. Your Wayne Rooney's, your Zlatan Ibrahimovic's had a certain level within the game that was high, but it wasn't sustainable because, you know, it kind of fell off after a while and the talent dried up and some talent just wasn't even going out there at all. And then obviously the Saudi money's coming along now and they're going to grow. And they don't seem like they're going to be stopping. They don't seem like they're going to be stopping in terms of their level of ambition. So they're going to attract more players. They're not only going to attract more players, but they're going to attract players of all types of quality, all types of levels. So the ambition is not going to stop there. They're going to throw more money at it. So the money level isn't going to stop at all either. We'll have to just wait and see how it grows. I'm very intrigued to see how it will grow. Yes, I would suggest maybe you do apologize. Just throwing out your opinion out there. I don't know if he's genuinely offended or anything, but hope to see you again, Richard. Hope to see you again. Perfect signing. He will be for us. Yeah, I somewhat agree to that. I think obviously he may not be the biggest or flashiest name out there, but at the same time, I think he has the right attributes, characteristics, traits, and everything to obviously go ahead and be a solid acquisition for us. Versatility wise, I think he's solid. Thoughts on Jesse Marsch? He was linked with Liverpool job before because American. And what next for Jesse Marsch? He's from. I imagine he'd go back to America. I think the Leeds experiment sort of failed. The whole sort of Ted Lasso sort of thing. I would imagine he goes back to America. So yeah, I think that's probably the last we'll see of Jesse Marsch over in Europe, to be honest. Could be wrong on that. Could obviously take a championship job. Could take maybe another job abroad. Yeah. Ted Lasso definitely did not help his case out a lot, which is why he got drawn to a few comparisons of that. But no, like we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Again, another area to go down there. Final story. We were going to talk about this very, very quickly because I've got a dash at some point. Exclusive. Tottenham have opened direct talks with Wolfsburg for Mickey van der Ven. Dutch centre-back is among top targets. Verbal proposal set to be submitted as van der Ven is keen on the move. Edmund Tapsoba remains among options on Spurs' list, but he's more expensive. That came from Fabrizio Romano yesterday in regards to Tottenham's pursuit of Mickey van der Ven. We've, of course, talked about van der Ven before. We've said that he's been linked also with a move to Liverpool. And we said that he looks like a very, very solid defender. A solid defender who is for the here and now as well as for the future. He's a ball-playing, progressive defender, good with the ball at his feet, tall, good aerial presence, but also, and something that is turning a lot of heads, is the fact that he is very, very quick. He's very quick. And I think for teams that are playing a high line, that is a very, very good attribute to obviously have. And I think that there will be a fair amount of interest in him going forward. And I think obviously with Liverpool playing a high line, I can see why he would be linked with a move to the Reds. But with Tottenham also looking to play a high line, and from what we know of Ange Postecoglou, is that he will be playing the likelihood is he will be playing a high line. He'll try and be progressive. He'll try and be proactive. He'll try and be on the front foot and attacking minded. If that is to be the case, Van der Ven as that left centre-back to partner Romero might be a very good addition to that squad. He is a little rash. He's still a little rough around the edges. I wouldn't be entirely convinced by a Van der Ven and Romero partnership, especially when both can go flying in at any moment. But at the same time, it does look like it could be a very promising signing and something that, again, Tottenham may actually be looking forward to. Vicario coming in, James Maddison, and if they can get this Van der Ven deal done, that is a very, very good start to what could be a very intriguing summer ahead for Tottenham Hotspur going forward. And it seems that Tottenham may be pushing the boat out a little bit more. Daniel Levy may be pushing the boat out a little bit more for Spurs this season. Does that mean they're pushing the boat out a lot? Probably not. Probably not as much as maybe what people think, because let's face it, Tottenham missed out on European football as a whole this summer, or this season, for the upcoming season. In a stadium like Tottenham's, he'll be wanting to put on boxing events. He'll be wanting to put on concerts. He'll be wanting to put on a Mario Kart track. F1 track. He'll also be wanting to put on Champions League football. So, in my opinion, don't get too excited because top four seems to be the goal. And I know that obviously it would be good anyway for Tottenham to just maybe rebuild and get back into the top four. I don't think it will happen, but these are positive signs of players that are looking good, in my opinion. James Maddison is one lazy player. Last season, low-key. Didn't Harvey Barnes score more than him? James Maddison is expected to play much better now. I think he did, but I also think Maddison got more assists. I could be wrong. I think he got more assists. I think Maddison got 10 goals and 9 assists, and I think Barnes got 14, 13 goals and maybe 7 assists. I don't know. But I addressed the laziness thing earlier. You can hide the lack of press or the lack of intensity that Maddison plays with if you have the right players alongside him to complement him. I think he's a brilliant addition. I think his goal scoring and attacking or his goal contributions output outweighs the sort of laziness, if you like, that many people have said is why he's not that good of a signing. How did Liverpool lose away to Leicester? Was that the game where Salah missed a penalty? Was that the game where Salah missed a penalty? I don't know. We were dreadful for most of this season. Nottingham Forest and etc. It's so frustrating. Yeah, we were poor. We were poor away from home. We were dreadful this season. Our home form wasn't actually that bad. It wasn't as good as obviously recent years, clearly. But our away form, Jesus Christ, was terrible. James Maddison did play a bit below par last season, it felt. Absolutely. But I think he still stood out head and shoulders above the rest, maybe with the exception of Harvey Barnes, to be fair. But he still stood out head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. And let's face it, in a Leicester squad that had been declining for the past few years, it was bound to happen at some point. I think a fresh start would do him the world of good. I think playing with the likes of Son and Kane and Kulusevski, if obviously they stay, will actually do him the world of good and will make him a better player. And I think it's a brilliant signing by Spurs. I think if they can get the right players in the midfield alongside him to complement maybe his lack of intensity, his lack of tenacity, and his lack of maybe pressing at times. No, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm not saying he can't change his mentality or change, obviously, the way that he plays. But if they can get players that will complement him in that regard, maybe it will work out for the best. And I think that will be a very, very good addition for this Spurs squad as a whole. But yes, Tottenham complete the signing of James Maddison and are now seemingly turning their attention to Mickey van der Ven of Wolfsburg as they look to maybe strengthen their defensive issues. Anyway, you've been doing this for an hour. Good talk. Take care. James Maddison had to move because it is a Euro year. Absolutely. And I'm very surprised that other teams in the Premier League were not interested. I think he improves a large majority of midfields across Europe and especially in the Premier League. And I'm very surprised that of all the teams to have pulled off this deal, it's Tottenham. But yes, thank you, bro. Thank you for coming by and thank you for getting involved in the comment section. Good to talk to you as always, my friend. Take care and have a good rest of your day. I'm going to head off to you guys. I've got places to be, unfortunately. But thank you all so much for watching and listening. These have just been the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of any of the stories that I've talked about in this video? What do you make of any of the stories that are buzzing around the world of football right now that I may not have talked about, that maybe you want to see me address in a or talk about in a future video or live stream? Leave your comments, thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, in the chat, in the comment section, wherever it may be. I'm sure they'll all make for great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another all new news live stream. And I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever the hell it may be.